Today is nut day. Gonna get a little nutty, right? Today's 12, 20, 24. Okay, so this is my when I after I eat, sometimes before, it depends on how busy I was getting things done and do my thing. Um, after 5 o'clock, I'll say, man, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I've burned everything up, and I don't have anything ready to eat, so I'll grab like a jar of my nuts, of my nut mixture. So what I do is my base is just regular peanuts, and I pour a good amount in there. That's my dominant source there, and then cranberries. Right, there's a little natural sweetener. I take and I break up the clumps. Don't like biting into a big old clump of cranberries, so I'll kind of like break those up a little bit, and I'll use my old ones first. So whatever I got old, the newest, nuts and stuff get used last, and I use up all the older stuff first. And here's some hazelnuts. Sprinkling if you don't need a lot of hazelnuts, and some almond flakes, and some almond chunks. I like biting into those. Pretty crunchy. For you people who love potato chips, you shift over to this kind of thing, you think this kind of remind you of biting into potato chips, crunchy. And here's some almonds. Use my older ones first. And then I've got and then some dark chocolate. So dark chocolate, that is, if you knew what dark chocolate does to the mitochondria and all those good things, cholesterol and triglycerides and the internal function, your gut biome, even your skin, your epidermis, right? Like it, yeah, good stuff. Now a little dab it does you. I mean, you don't want a lot of chocolate, right? But because I'm making, I want it a little sweet so that it hits a number of neurons in there. Makes me feel like, yeah, I got something going on. And so that we got walnuts, cranberry. Stay around 50% chocolate. Now you can get those bars, but those 70, 80, 90. Those are expensive though, and they still have the same filler as the 50. So I go, I'll just cut back on the chocolate a little bit. They get the same. So you got. Let's go through the whole thing here. Regular, unsalted nuts, unmolested, right? Just right from the field. They run it through a mill thing, processing, and they deshell them right there, bounce them around. They fall through different sizes, screens, and then they box them, and they send them to the store. So just nothing here has been molested as far as anything added. This is actually truly from the field to the table food. I verified that myself, right? Making sure. And so that's just the healthiest way to go, And so I start this all over again, shall we? So walnuts, peanuts, this is all unmolested stuff now. Walnuts, peanuts, hazelnuts, almond flakes, almond chunks, nice crunchy flavor. Cranberry, dark chocolate. And I think that's about it. Of course, you can always add something else as long as it hasn't been molested in any way. Nothing added, no salts. But sometimes when they do that salts, they just mix some other chemicals in, and they just throw this bag of salt in there, and it mixes with whatever chemical was in there, and it gets into your mix, right? So yeah, I just go for unadulterated food. And so this is what my potato chips are. right? My my ice cream. Well, I do make some homemade ice cream. It's bananas. Um, I freeze my bananas and I take peanuts and I put it in my blender and I'll add some water and some olive oil and some um, Lenin, not Lennon. So some vanilla flavor, Lenin. So Lenin. And then so put the peanuts in first, the Lenin or vanilla, and the olive oil, and a little bit of water to start out with. Run your blender, and if it's not breaking up, you just add a little bit water more until it starts to get that creamy look. And then I add my bananas and my other fruits. I throw in, all the fruits that I got, I grow. I throw in some apples, frozen blackberries, raspberries, peaches. I grow peaches. So just whatever I feel like. It's like a mad scientist, Just dump as I feel, right? See what I turn into. So, and then so after it gets to the texture that I want, so got to be careful with the water, but you add a little bit of water just to keep the machine going. Add a little water until it starts to look like ice cream. Right? It starts to get that texture of creamy ice cream, and enjoy, right? And so, I just wanted to actually make, so you can see me make it this time and how it looks. And then what I do is I'll take little jars. I call this a serving jar. Quantity is key, right? It's key. So this is my quantity jar. This is not my quantity jar. Or, this is not my quantity jar. So I take these jars, I got a bunch of these, and I'll just fill up one jar. And then when I go to eat some of this, I grab that one jar. And when it's gone, I'm done. Now there's rare times where, man, I was a logger all day or something. I've been doing some physical stuff, 10, 12 hours straight, and I'm going, I think I'm gonna have two. And it gets burned up pretty quick, right? So, because it was a really physical day that day. Not extraordinarily busy, but more busy than usual. So then, and I get a bunch of these jars all filled up like that. Got them on my pantry, get them all lined up. Say, all right, snack time. And that is my snack. Now when I go to the store, I buy fruit. There's some bad rap about bananas, but if we're not eating the sandwiches, with all the bread and the donuts and the processed meats and all that other processed foods, that typically Americans eat, and we eliminate all the processed stuff, a banana in place of that, with a handful of this, a bite of banana, that, until the banana's gone and my jar of nuts is gone, and that's like eating a Snickers for me. But it's all unprocessed food. It's all whole foods. So I've been eating this way for about 4 years, and so it's not a diet or some other fad thing or Mediterranean or vegan or vegetarian, or it's not that. No, the body, we evolved to have a wide variety of whole foods, right? Fruits, vegetables, meats, right? It's about mixing it. I avoid too much meats when I do put meats in. If somebody is just starting to get healthy, it's probably best to, cut out all meats for a while. If you need, probably throw in an egg and something once in a while, or once a week or two, along with some sardines. That's just to get the body healing, right? And then after a few years, once you got to that position where you're going, what the man, somebody had my lights turned out for my whole life. Once you get to that feeling of what, boy, I can see why people take fentanyl, because they want to feel like this. If they only knew that there's something better than fentanyl. Natural is better than fentanyl. The feeling, it almost makes me weep. It's amazing. So you really want to get a mixture of things, right? It also helps keep a good balance of gut biome, little critters in there, your gut biome, right? The little things that digest all of our food, that compost everything down. There was something like, I think the last I heard was something like 1,300 different little critters that do different little things that help digest our food. And there's some folks that don't have those a proper balance of a gut biome, and they need to go get what's called a poop transfer to get from somebody who's healthier, right? Somebody who didn't take antibiotics, or somebody didn't, kill their healthy, microbes in their gut. That's really the healthiest kind. So by eating a lot of vegetable stuff, because your gut biome actually feeds your brain. So if you have a healthy gut biome, over time, because the brain is going to have to clear out a bunch of junk too. So over time, your gut biome will be sparkling clean, like brand new baby, right? But the brain's going to take a little longer for cleansing, because there's also a lot of stuff that gets built up in the tissue of the brain from all these chemicals in our processed foods, and being overweight, and the toxicity level over years or decades. It takes time for the brain to actually heal itself. The body can actually respond quicker than the brain. And that's just my personal experience. That's what I experienced. The body got clean. 3 years, I'm going, whoa, something wasn't right still with the brain. So something's still misfiring. It's like, maybe I need a new spark plug. But then as I stuck with my chosen lifestyle, I noticed that I was becoming more and more curious about learning new things, and before I know it, I'm studying all these topics, and I don't like to sit around and do nothing if I'm sitting like chilling, I don't care for movies that much. I'll watch them, but I'd rather be in school. I'd rather be learning new things that I didn't know, or I find out these things, I'm going, what, who knew, kind of things, right? And there's thousands of them. I don't make lists. I just enjoy knowing certain things. And so when I get in a conversation with somebody about something, about a topic, and the topic comes up, even though I'm not thinking about the intricacies of that topic, it could be anything. It could be bioscience, it could be physics, it could be medical, diet, amazing diet information, health information, paleontology. Doesn't matter, agroponics, growing plants in water. It doesn't matter. Building log cabins, I could do that too. I spent a lot of hours watching this one guy. He, all by himself, he built a 2-level log, big camp. I think it was probably about 2,600 square feet. It was big. Beautiful staircase he built. And he built it all from the forest. He selected specific trees for that specific kind of design and longevity of the cabin. And he cured the logs as he put them down, each and dump. Here's the long thing. He would get them to the length with this long bar cut, right? Long cutting bar. One stroke at a time, and he got them to the flatness, and cut out the sections like a log cabin, and those little toys we used to get as kids. And so, yeah, it's kind of neat watching. I watched a couple guys do that. I think one was in Croatia guy in Croatia. And so, it's really about making a choice and how we want to live our lives. We want to live it being satisfied by eating the chemical food that makes us want to eat it more, because the more we eat that chemical food, the more we desire it. It's like we need to have it to feel a certain way, right? The endorphin releases. And so we've determined that most of these chemicals are actually have addictive traits, like heroin, fentanyl. People who smoke cigarettes, drink alcohol, addictive traits. That's in our food that causes addictive personality. All right. I gotta get more chips. I gotta get more ice cream. I gotta get more bread. I gotta get vicious cycle. And I just got off of it. And now I don't buy processed foods. I'm not gonna say I never consume it, because that would be deceptive. But what I do say, it's so rare that my natural body's antioxidant level, because we all produce plenty of antioxidants natural. We don't need to take something, oh, this is high in antioxidants. No. Our body does a great job producing its own level of natural antioxidants that keeps us cleaned out, right? It's when we get all these chemicals and we overeat and we increase our inflammatory markers and gain all that weight, and that's when we start to get into trouble. And over time, maintain that lifestyle starts to take a toll. Next thing you know, we're on some medication, then we're on another medication, then we're on another medication. Then it's a vicious cycle, right? And I got off of it, and I was on it from my birth, that cycle, and now I'm on a new cycle. Would you like to join me? This is what life's supposed to feel like. Stunning, amazing, enlightening, thrilling, happiness, joy from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to bed. It's almost hard to go to sleep because I'm thinking about all the stuff that I learned this day, and it's all going through like this, and so as I'm sleeping, my hippocampus recycles all that information, and the next day, I feel more enlightened. I can go do things that I've never done before, as far as building something or solving a problem, because it's all intertwined. We learn something new, and then we learn something different, totally unrelated new, and we learn something also differently, totally differently unrelated to the other two things. And we keep doing that. What happens is the brain starts to make a lot of correlations and increases our general problem solving about things in general in our daily lives. It's amazing how that plasticity in our brain. Plasticity is the ability for the brain to grow new neurons, grow new synapses, get, smarter. To me, I wouldn't call it smarter. I would call it wiser, because to me, wiser has more value than being smart, whatever smart is. What's smart anyway? What does smart mean? What does it mean? Good at something? Being able to go through a mathematical calculus equation real quick? Or most of us can do that if we practice at it, right? So what is smart? Smart is maybe a perception, a depth of perception of one's reality, right? Smart. The deeper the perception of reality, the simpler it is to solve problems. The easier it is to see things that we thought were complex that we realized weren't. We were trying to complicate it, right? We were trying to complicate things, thinking that they were more complicated than what they were. And they were actually more simple than we ever imagined. Things are not as complicated as you think, or as we think. So anyway, that's my video for today. It's a nutty day in the neighborhood, a nutty day in the neighbor. I'm going to finish up jarring these up, and I'm going to go have a snack because it's after 5. You have a good evening and a good life, because a good life is something that we choose. If we let our environment force that upon us, whatever that is, the food industry, people in our lives, we can stay down. But if we just free ourselves, take personal responsibility, personal accountability for ourselves, realizing we have our own best interest at heart, and maybe everybody else is the same, and just see everybody as people, regardless of what their education level is. Right? We're all, at the end of the day, we are just people. Some know about doctor stuff, and some know about physics stuff, and some know about plumbing stuff, and some know about appliance repair stuff. I did that for 30 years, by the way, in my own business. Had to rebuild my washer. It works good, by the way. Had to take it down to the very guts, dismantle it, replace the main bearings and the flange. Oh my god, spider flange. So, a big job. And so, I wish you well. But it's about making a decision and then a commitment to yourself, and never look back. You have the courage to do this. We all do. Recognize that you do, and realize that you actually do. We're all in control of our own life and our own fate and our own decisions, and join me in this wonderful adventure of life. It's stunningly amazing to finally feel like there's nothing wrong. You have a good night. Bye now.